Добрий день.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joined us. Media Center of Ukraine, Ukrinform continues its operation. It's more than 250 days that the heroic resistance of Ukrainian people is going on, and we'll talk about the events unfolding around the grain corridor, the Russian food blackmailing and reaction of the Verkhovna Rada. Coming up live is Dmytro, Solomchuk, member of Verkhovna Rada and member of Verkhovna Rada Agrarian and Land Policy Committee. Mr. Dmytro, good afternoon. Good afternoon from Ukrainian fields. Mr. Dmytro, the dynamic around the grain deal is developing in a very active way. We know about the Russian statement about their suspension and withdrawal of from the grain deal, and no 24 hours passed that we had statements by Turkey and United Nations that they approved the movement of our vessels. So what's going on? What can we forecast? It could be forecasted because many countries throughout the world refused the import of Russian food, and Russia respectively started manipulations with the grain, with the manipulation with the previously coordinated terms and conditions. You know, what they see is that there is a line of the vessels, 170 vessels from all over the world in line for Ukrainian grain, and they don't know what to do in this event. Turkey declared its firm position. United Nations declared the same position, and today 12 vessels left for the countries of Africa and Asia, 8 of them under the World Food Program, and another 4 vessels are coming to the ports for loading. And of course, these Russia's manipulations, they require the reaction of the United Nations, of our international partners. And if Russia continues their provocations, other partner countries, how they have to provide maybe military assistance to the export of Ukrainian grain, because Russia has no right to proclaim their rights to the Black Sea. How can they prohibit anything to anybody in the Black Sea? And we started the autumn harvesting season, and the government of Canada and Japan, USAID, they provided us with the storage facilities. We need to keep the harvest, we need to gather it and develop export in the western direction as well. Mr. Dmytro, what's the reaction, what's the legislative reaction by Verkhovna Rada to these events unfolding around the grain deal? The reaction of the parliament is already here. It's maybe not public because they have to do their job, which is principle, but there will be public statements, the statements to United Nations, that they should not follow Russia's provocations, because the world's food security depends on this. The hundreds of millions of lives depend on this. They have to act in a decisive manner and provide the security, or if they cannot provide the security by themselves, they can provide the missile systems to Ukrainian armed forces, who will ensure the security in the Black Sea if other countries are unable to do it. Mr. Dmytro, before you we had the head of the monitoring group, Andriy Klemenko, before you, who told us that the situation with these provocations by Russia in this grain corridor, it did not start recently, but it started back in September, in the middle of September. Within this period, how much did we lose potentially in terms of export? Look, export achieved normal level, before, like the same as it was before the war. It's understood that if the passage of the vessels would have been happening in a more steady manner without manipulations, we could have maybe 10 vessels more. But in September, the figures of export were similar to that before wartime. Dear colleagues, your questions, please. Vladislav Obuch, Ukrinform. Can you please tell us, is it known what's going on with the prices now? Because about 1 month ago, there was information that the price of the grain in the port of Odessa was significantly lower than in the world markets. According to your forecast, isn't it going to become a reason to another fall in prices and loss of profit by the Ukrainian agrarians? Now that the grain corridor operates within 2 months, the prices of our grain increased, and they grew maybe not to the European level. They are lower, but a large part of this cost includes logistics, which takes a major cost, and now the price of the grain in the world markets grew 5%, around 5%, and if this corridor is blocked, the price of grain in the world will grow dramatically because there's nothing to replace it with. If it operates another 2 months, we would get back to the cost of logistics to the same level as they were before the war. Because if we transport the grain with the vehicle or railroad, it's like $180 and $120 per ton respectively, which is cheaper by the sea. But if we stabilize the situation and the corridor is 100% safe and secure, so that any vessels can go in there, it would result in the significant fall in the prices and to the growth of profit of Ukrainian agrarians. And without this export set up in a proper manner, our agrarians don't get their profit because they cannot get the level of the prices that we can see in Europe, or they can do the processing in the territory of Ukraine in the west, say, but it's a long way and it takes 5 to 6 months to launch the full-scale production. And this industrial processing in Ukraine is just the plans for the future for our economy. Mr. Dmytro, we see that within the last month, around 200 vessels with Ukrainian grain are lined in the Marble Sea waiting for inspection, and we understand that it causes additional costs. Will this situation impact our agrarians? Yes, it's understood that the additional costs by the logistics, by the logisticians, we understand that those vessels who were on rate during unloading, that they already declared the grain as as sold, as boarded, is being delivered to their ship for loading. We understand there should be no blocking, and the faster the vessel enters and gets loaded and leaves, the more money agrarians will have in their accounts, because these are all logistics costs. Can we forecast that we will be able to continue the operation of the grain deal without Russian Federation? I hope that this is the way it will happen, because today we had a firm statement by the United Nations. If it's not enough, I think that the leaders of all partner countries should join, I mean those countries who need our grain. And even if military assistance, military accompaniment is necessary, they maybe have to ponder over it, because many countries in the world, they declined, they refused to buy Russian products, but until today they cannot realize that it's not about the price. It's not about the making $10 to $15 per ton discount, but the reason is that they started the war in the middle of Europe, and no discounts will help us. Meanwhile, they try to find different models, and we have 170 vessels in line for Ukrainian grain, and there is no line for any single Russian grain, and it's understood that they don't like it, but we have to do the harvesting works. It's the harvesting season, because the summer harvesting is small. We sow more autumn crops. We started harvesting sunflowers, soil ripe. We have to do the harvesting work. We have to provide storage for the harvest, and we have to start processing and selling it. But first of all, it should be harvested in the field. Like today we're harvesting sunflower. Look how beautiful is this sunflower. Is the size of my head, actually. Yeah, the sunflower is beautiful indeed. It's good news. We will have oil. Yes, we will have oil. Look at this beautiful Ukrainian field. Look at it. The sunflowers, they are 2 meters tall. The flowers is the size of the head. The oil will be organic, it will be natural, and the most delicious in the world. Thank you, Mr. Dmytro, for your footage from the fields. I will remind you, we had Dmytro Solomchuk with us, the Deputy of Верховна Rada, and the member of Верховна Rada's Agrarian and Land Policy Committee. Dear colleagues, please follow our announcements. Our team is preparing the schedule for tomorrow. Bear with us, believe in our armed forces, and let's continue to work together for our victory. Glory to Ukraine.